Are you ready to be the change you want to see in the world? I invite you to stick around and take part in the conversation after the show. We are on a journey to uncover secrets of living with favor while experiencing fulfillment from running our successful businesses. Each week, we're here to advise, train, and come alongside women who are ready to grow their businesses with simple solutions and live with favor, which is faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and rewarding relationships. I'm Lisa Mosby, and I'm your host of Living with Favor. Today, we want to take you from fatigue to fueled with simple tips on living with vitality. The promise of the show is that we ask tough questions, and we're looking to get solutions from our guest experts and our brilliant audience. Today's guest expert is Paula Johnson. Paula is an integrative nutrition health coach. At Craving Joy, Paula offers solutions for better sleep, stress management, and transitioning to healthy and delicious foods. Boy, that's a mouthful there. Paula, welcome to the show. I was like, I'm so excited to get to having a conversation with you. I can't even get out your description. What are you looking forward to most about being here today and talking about from fatigue to fueled?
Well, like you said, it is a mouthful. A journey of health is quite confusing. It's full of all kinds of stuff. And I love just helping people slow down, simplify it, find the pieces that work into their busy routines so that they can really be successful for health. And every time we have a conversation, Lisa, the light bulbs are just turning on and we are sharing ideas. So I'm excited for that again today because we inspire each other and we can then help spread that inspiration to others to make those healthy changes and just find the joy in their life to be a different definition of healthy.
Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world, right? You know, I've been struggling. It's like, I was talking to my dad about this within the last 2 days. And I said, I'm feeling rage. I'm feeling anger about, the way that we've damaged the soils, the customer service that we're experiencing. There's all of these, negative energies that are showing up in the world with, recession and financial struggles coming out of COVID. We're fatigued. We are fatigued as a society. And I don't know if it's directly food or if it's environment, all the things that are going on, but all of it is just sucking the vitality out of people. You and I, we're educated. We were talking about, we both pulled out some books, some resources to share with you guys today. And we have tools, but not everybody does. So when you think about the word vitality, how would you describe that? What do you term vitality in your life?
I really think of that as like the energy to run through my day. And how am I fueling my body? How am I fueling it with food? How am I fueling it with words? How am I fueling that with relationships? There's not just one thing that makes us awesome. We have to have that variety of things that we're feeding and fueling ourselves. And have to be careful when we're feeding ourselves the junk food, when we're feeding ourselves those irritable, angry people. Like, we have to find ways to limit that and find more of the good to fill in, find more of our centering, more of our faith. And I think that's the challenge, is intentionally looking at how are you going to fuel yourself to make yourself have that vitality. Because if you don't have that energy from what you're intentionally receiving and you're letting some of the negative, bad stuff influence you, your vitality is dragging, right? Those are the days you can hardly get through. That's when you're crying that it's Monday or Tuesday and you're just dreaming for the weekend. We should be able to have that vitality of life every single day, but it's intentional, like what we feed ourselves mentally, spiritually, physically, all of it.
What we allow in, right? What we allow into our life in all those areas. I was reading, and I do have it here. It was not on my desk, but it was one that I was reading last night. I don't know if you've ever seen this book, The Messages of Water from Masamu Emoto. And I taught a class on this week, and I was showing pictures about when we speak over water, the water changes. Like when they put the words love and gratitude like on the water, and it changed. It looked like a perfect snowflake. It crystallizes. But then they put negative words, and they played some, music that had cuss words and things in it. And then they took microscopic pictures of that water, and it changed. Well, if our bodies are made up of all water, of all this water, 60-70% plus of water, and we are in environments that are negative, we're watching shows, we're listening to music, we're experiencing the news and all the negativity, how is that boosting our immune system? Like, how is that bringing us health? But, water is one issue, but I want to go further into, what do you think the problem with our food system is? Like, how do we get nutrition?
Yeah, right. There's been a lot of changes since, the 1960s, where everything was very clean and there wasn't all these chemicals in our environment, right?
Yeah.
Now we're seeing conventional farming transition to using more chemicals in their soils and their lands, or that the land is just being depleted of all the nutrients. So all of those wonderful nutrients that could be in our fruits and vegetables, there's not as much anymore, right?
Yeah.
You can look up crazy numbers of how much of spinach you had to eat in 1960 compared to what you have to eat today to get the
32 cups.
right?
Not
Like
my
one cup
words,
is,
Empty Harvest. Yeah, it's in here. They talk about how much spinach you had to, what grandma and grandpa ate in 1 cup, and how much we would have to eat today to get those nutrients. Yeah. I kind of cut you off. I was excited about it. It's like, oh my gosh, she's so on the mark on that.
right? Yeah, and it's impressive to think about, how do we do it now?
Yeah.
Like, what do we do if we know there's those gaps? How do we shop differently, and how do we fuel our bodies differently? Shopping differently, of course, I'm paying a little bit more attention to a new word I learned this past year, is regenerative farming. So not just organic, but regenerative. Like, they're really paying attention to what crops they're planting near other plants, because they are the fuel for the next plant that grows in that area, and just really helping get into the soil, the minerals, the nutrients, all of the needs, so that the next plant can be more nutritious. So it's helping to move in that better direction. But it's not always easy to find, is it? Don't you find it confusing when you go to the grocery store, Lisa, and you're like, what do all these words and labels, and is the word natural a healthy word that I should be paying attention to?
I don't know. Arsenic is natural. I know where I lived in the desert, it was easy to harvest it. So but what
Right?
about organic? Let's jump into, like, what is healthy foods? Let's kind of start to identify, should we buy organic? Should we buy conventional? Where do we stay away? What are healthy foods, and what do we need to start bringing into our diets? Like, even those baby steps to move us forward, in your, in your opinion. I know it's our opinion, but
Yeah.
we've done a lot of the research, so I think our opinion has validity here. So
Yeah, in my opinion, we should find ways to make sure that we're getting vegetables in every meal, which is a big jump for a lot of people to add it into their breakfast, right? Or even their busy lunch. Most people get a serving at dinner because they remember, oh, I should eat my veggies, but getting it all throughout our day can actually change how our body's vitality again, right? Back to that magic word of vitality. When we're getting those nutrients all day long, our body actually can use them. We're rebuilding better cells throughout our system. We're improving our mood. Better food equals a better mood. So when we're focused on nutrient food, that's going to make a big difference too. I try to buy organic whenever I can. sometimes the price of organic is a little bit crazy compared to conventional. So then I really love to reference EWG's Dirty Dozen list and really focus on, okay, these are the absolute ones that I will always buy organic when I'm looking at that list versus they have a Dirty Dozen list and a Clean 15. So I recommend everyone look those up. They just updated them again for this year. So take a look again, but commonly the ones you always want to pay attention to are berries, tomatoes. Think about the things that have a very thin outer layer, like they don't have protection, like a grapefruit or an avocado has a little bit more protection from the actual fruit that we're ingesting, but a strawberry, it's kind of naked to the environment, right?
For sure.
So that's kind of the easiest trigger that I remember. Is this one okay if I don't get it organic? But finding frozen alternatives that are organic are usually my go-to if I can't find it fresh.
Yeah. And
We're in
EWG,
Minnesota.
let's give them EWG is Environmental Working Group. How do they find that? Just ewg.com
.org.
.org, ewg.org. And that's where you can find those lists.
Right,
Perfect.
right.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I'm in Minnesota. I know Lisa's in Florida. So what foods are available at certain times of year matter. It helps our body to eat seasonally. So whatever is in season in the area that you're in, gravitate towards those first. They're going to be more price conscious, but they're also what your body is going to need at that time of year too. So listen to that as well. Lisa, what are your favorites?
Berries, because 3 miles down the road I can get all the strawberries and blueberries I want here in Florida, and this is our season. We started about 4 or 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago maybe, for strawberries and blueberries, where in Minnesota we're looking at June for strawberries, maybe July, August for those blueberries. Those are probably my two go-tos for fruits. If I can, I try to stay low sugar. There's benefits. Bananas have their potassium, but you can get a lot of that from vegetables. And I think that's a really valid point with what you were saying. We need vegetables in all of our meals, and people go, I don't get vegetables at breakfast time, but you can. An omelet can have all kinds of vegetables, and you can have one egg and primarily vegetables, and the egg just uses it to hold it together, and it can be like a quiche or a frittata kind of a breakfast. Or you can do those little muffins, what you use your muffin tin to make them, crack an egg in there and put all kinds of vegetables in there as well. So thinking outside of the box, like, when we don't know what we don't know. And so once you know better, you can do better. And if we need vegetables in all those meals, how do we go about doing that? And you said we need them, and I think that you're referencing nutritional deficiency. Our vegetables are where our vitamins, minerals, those power pack nutrients that support our immune system and that give us that vitality, that's where it comes from. But are there some in particular that we should focus on, and how do we get them into our breakfast and lunches, since we're kind of taking care of the dinner piece of it? That's what I want you to speak to next.
Yeah, absolutely. For busy professionals, sometimes it is hard to get those in, and supplements often are necessary, especially greens. Adding a green powder into your quick smoothie on your rush out the door, adding capsules of greens are super effective. But just changing your thinking and making that a priority to plan, how am I getting my greens today? Am I grabbing my supplements? Am I adding more? Or am I changing how I think about what fuels my body?
Mm-hmm.
Am I changing what I'm eating for breakfast? The traditional American breakfast is considered dessert in Europe and other countries, right? In the past, my definition of a healthy breakfast was looking for a cereal or a processed thing. Now, that's not in my definition of healthy anymore. Now I'm looking for, what am I getting for proteins and vegetables? And it might be dinner for breakfast. Leftovers are the easiest thing that you can heat up, make for a fast breakfast, and keep it simple. But changing that, like you said, I love the omelets, all the veggies. I dice up things on the weekend so that when I am making breakfast, it's like, oh, there's already this dice. There's already this dice. Let's just throw some of everything in the pan, scramble some eggs with it or omelet. And it can be just as fast as grabbing the drive-through. The amount of time you sit in line at a drive-through, you could have already had something more fulfilling, less expensive, and more nutritious for your body. So finding that balance, but really just challenging yourself. What am I doing to fuel me today? And if it's just one step, how am I getting more vegetables in every meal?
Yeah.
I love helping people change one thing at a time, master that,
Mhm.
and then keep building on that and building because it's pretty hard to overhaul everything overnight. We've built a lot of habits over our past few years. So to undo those takes time, and be gentle and graceful. Give yourself grace that you can make these changes, but you're not going to be perfect right away.
Yeah.
Transition into it and make sure that the journey that you're heading on keeps escalating your health.
That one of the things that comes to mind for me, and I often speak on how, your best, you at 9 a.m., your best is different than 9 p.m. Like we're in a different place, we're in a different space. It doesn't mean that one is better or worse than the other, but the same is true with optimum health. Optimum health for the baby versus the teen versus the mom versus a woman who's in menopause. Optimum health is different throughout our life, just like our energy level varies throughout our day. So I want to kind of touch quickly on, optimum health for baby, teen, mom, menopause. What are some of the little tweaks that you see, or how do we focus on making sure that our kids have enough, but we have enough? I'm horrible about grabbing food in the kitchen, standing there. I take care of other people and feed them. And then, I don't have time to sit down because I'm cleaning up the dishes and we're on to the next thing. And so it's like, throw a few things in my mouth and it's not ideal. So I've tried to be more mindful with eating, but then can you speak to, the mindfulness piece and then maybe baby, teen, mom, menopause? Like, what's that progression and how do we support all of those changes throughout our life?
Right, right. We all know the saying, when we fail to plan, we plan to fail. And really being intentional and taking that hour a week to look at, what does my schedule look like? What days am I going to be so busy I'm not going to have time to cook? How can I manage that early in the week? How can I prep that ahead of time? Can I spend an hour on the weekend, dice everything up so that when I walk in the door with kids and people and bags and juggling stuff, all I need to do is grab a pan, throw it in the pan, cook it, heat it, and eat it quick.
Yeah.
It needs to be fast food, right? But healthy fast food. An apple is fast food. It really is. It doesn't have to come from a drive-through, but different stages of life need different nutrition. Absolutely. A child is going to need something quick and easy. When my kids were little, the first thing we fed them was vegetables first, fruit last. Fruit was their dessert. So it trained their body to eat those nutrients, and they were so hungry, they just ate the first thing they got, right? They didn't have choices. But as they got older, they still ate the vegetables and they still did that. For adults that haven't grown up eating vegetables, just try them. There are so many choices. Pick one and try to cook it in different ways. Try it raw, try it cooked, try it in a smoothie, where you don't really have to see it. You can just blend it in with your blueberries and you don't even know that that vegetable's in there. Start getting your body used to it. I think the best thing to do is make it convenient, make it easy. One of my favorite books is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he talks about what we want to do better, we need to make visible. So all the things, those fresh veggies or fresh fruit or whatever we have planned, make sure they're eye level. So when we open our fridge or we open our cupboard, those are the things that we see first. Those naughty treats, they're shoved way in the back. They're in that cabinet way at the top, or somewhere where you have to inconvenience yourself. You have to get the step stool. You got to go dig for it. You got to move the stuff to get to it. Make it harder for the things that are those temptations, or just stop bringing them in the house, ideally. But for the ones that are already there, you can balance that out and look at, when do I do my things? When do I remember to take my greens? What do I do every morning? I have my phone that I grab before I go out the door. Maybe my green supplements sit right next to my phone, so I remember I'm going to see it, I'm going to take it. Or what am I doing in my kitchen right next to my water purifier? I might have my supplements, or I might have tonight's recipe or whatever I'm making. Put them in places that you already interface with. So you're going to see it. It's going to be right there and be like, oh yeah, I already planned this. This is what I'm doing, so that it doesn't get forgotten, right?
Great, yeah. When we think of optimal health, are there warning signs, if you will, that are kind of clues to the fact that we may need some more nutrition? Can you think of any warning signs that people need to be aware of, and maybe cause them to reflect and look at their diet a little bit differently?
Oh, for sure. Our body is full of warning signs. We just ignore them all day long, right?
Yeah.
The itchy skin is like one of the biggest signs, or the breakout of the skin is one of the biggest signs that our digestive system is off track. We need support. We need to figure out what our body is fighting against. But we usually blame it on something else when we have acne or when our skin is itchy, right? We need to look internally to find out, what is that balance and what can we do to even that out. The same thing with our emotional state. If we are more emotional, it's often because it doesn't help that we aren't feeding and fueling our body. Greens can be a big help to balance out our nutrition. So whether you're a male or a female, there's surges in those hormonal levels at the teenage years, in the early 20s and 30s, in the fertility stages, in the 30s and 40s, in the premenopause, and into menopause. There's all types of layers of hormonal changes. Food can have a big impact on that. So when we're having things with a lot of sugar, when we're having things that with a lot of processed ingredients, our body is like trying to play catch up. It's trying to take care of all those things. And oh yeah, I'm supposed to take care of you too. I don't have time. I'm still trying to catch up on all this sugar you just ate. So balancing that out is important for that mental state. But I also see fatigue and clumsiness come into place too. When we're not fueling our bodies, or we're fueling them poorly, it impacts our sleep. Our sleep impacts our ability to focus. It impacts our coordination. All of these things just have this big domino effect, right? And if we can focus on taking care of ourselves, good sleep, feeding ourselves with good people around us, good information, spiritually being connected, and having those strong relationships, and the food we fuel our bodies with, all of that comes back into a better balance for that optimal health. It's like the little picture of a pie, right? You can only have a little bit, or actually a wheel is better. Like if you're missing a piece of that wheel, you kind of clunk on down the road. But when you have all the pieces intact, you can roll down your day a little bit smoother, a little bit more transitions, and with a lot more grace and joy in each day.
Yeah. Boy, lots of lessons, lots of tips. I'm going to try to sum some of this up here. My takeaways from today is, from fatigue to fueled really depends on how we look at our lives. Who are we allowing into our lives? How are we managing the energy around us, the negativity, whether it's the news, the traffic, the stresses of daily lives, of our daily life? How are we getting our greens? Because greens are packed with nutrients. They're loaded with B vitamins. They're the things that support our immune system. They give us fuel. They are a direct connect to energy if we can eat them. Can we do them powdered? Can we add fresh greens to our smoothies? How do we eat our greens for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? It doesn't have to taste icky. We can make it taste good. Adding greens to sweet smoothies, you get you'll have a little bit of flavor, but over time, you don't even notice the greens. Having your greens at lunch and dinner, whether it's a salad or sauteed vegetables or vegetables cut up and put into your meat, your soup, your, a mixture of green vegetables together. Water is another one, having a good source of water. And we know that water, can change in its environment. So putting healthy water, greens, making the best choice, and that's most affordable, whether that's organic or avoiding those conventional foods. If you can't afford organic, picking the things that are more affordable, buying local and buying fresh, farmers markets, CSAs, there's Misfits and Thrive, and lots of these boxes that get delivered to your door are another great option to bring nutrients into your body, into your life, and to help you get fueled. I'm going to ask Paula one last question, and that is, if there was a next step. I kind of summed it up. You said vegetables, vegetables, vegetables. I'm thinking that might be your one tip, but we're going to leave that one off the table. We got that one. Is there one final suggestion, a next step for our audience to move, more into feeling fueled and taking a step closer to living in optimum health? What would that be, in your opinion?
I think really paying attention to real foods, whole foods, things that have, maybe they don't even have an ingredient list because it's just one ingredient, or the item is 5 ingredients or less. Shopping that outer perimeter of the store can make that big difference. And experiment, try those new recipes. Connect with a coach so that you don't have to do this alone, and you can do this with support, someone that's already made that journey. But there's so many great resources and tools and recipes out there that you can just dive into and be brave. But have somebody that along your journey to help you too, because that will make it far more joyful and less of a grieving process to let go of those favorite foods of the past. Once you get past and you make those changes and you feel so much better, you won't crave those things anymore, because you know how your body feels better, more energized, ready to jump into your day.
It'll show up when you feel fueled. Avoid the boxes, the bags, the cans. Find real food. That's the takeaway from our health coach, Paula Johnson. Paula's our guest expert. Stick around after the show if you have questions. We invite you every week to join us after the show so that we can dig deeper and you can go into and ask our guest experts those tough questions. But in the meantime, you can find Paula, her company is called Craving Joy, and she is on Facebook and LinkedIn, so you can reach out to her there. If you want to see a recap of this episode, we posted on my YouTube channel, just Lisa Mosby on YouTube, and you'll be able to find the replay of this if you want to take notes on all of those amazing tips that Paula has given us today. Our journey together on this journey, we hope that you take away a little bit more knowledge to unleash your confidence, discover something unique about you, and uncover life's experiences that make you an expert so that you can help others. Get support around those things. I'm Lisa Mosby. I've been your coach. I'm a digital strategist, and I help people with their digital marketing. I advise, train, and coach small business owners to manage their business with easy tools. If you're a woman who is ready to take the next step in your business, I'm happy to come alongside you to facilitate that. So let's talk, and you can book time with me at lisamosby.com. Just click that button that says book it, and you'll be able to schedule some time with me, and we can chat about your business and see where you need to go next. You know, the best part of this show, like I said, is the after show. I invite you to linger longer and join the conversation where we go deeper with Living with Favor. Hear from the experts, and we want you to contribute your thoughts, because what you have to say matters. We learn from each other, and I know your experiences will probably teach me and teach Paula something. So join us for future shows and linger longer. We hope to see you next week. Thanks for joining us today.